Hi, welcome to a brand new week of TNT. It's the 5th of February, and yes, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks in Thailand because a lot of people come here from, different parts of the world with some ethnic Chinese background to visit Thailand to celebrate the Chinese New Year. So, I saw this in the store and I thought, looks nice and bright. I'll probably only wear it today and on Grumpy Old Men this week because we're recording that program this week on the official Chinese New Year, which is February the 10th. Now, speaking of celebrations, this one makes it into the news. Thai PBS World reporting that UNESCO certifies Songkran as part of humanity's intangible cultural heritage. What that exactly means, I'm not sure. I'm sure people will still be throwing water at each other on April the 13th. And in the days just before and a few after as well. There is a much more quiet and pleasant cultural version of Songkran, and I hope they celebrate that and promote that as well. UNESCO has issued an official certificate inscribing Songkran, the traditional Thai New Year festival, as part of humanity's intangible cultural heritage. They could have put a full stop there, but they went on to say, following the Intergovernmental Convention for the Safeguarding of Intangible Cultural Heritage in Botswana. And the Director General of the Cultural Promotion Department said the government plans to celebrate Songkran in grand style to promote this traditional festival as an element of Thailand's soft power and tourist attractions from April the 1st to the 21st. Celebrations will be held in provinces around the country. Well, the government doesn't have to do very much to encourage people to get out and about on Songkran. It is well celebrated by the locals, let alone the tourists that are now getting into it as well. There's a copy of the certificate from UNESCO, Songkran in Thailand, traditional Thai New Year festival. Again, I appreciate the listing and I'm sure Thailand does as well, but I'm not exactly sure what it's going to mean for Songkran. But regarding the forthcoming Chinese New Year festival from February the 4th to the 14th, it's anticipated that about 3.5 million air travellers, many of them from China, will use the 6 main airports in Thailand, including more than 3,000 special flights from China. There'll also be a lot of people coming in from Singapore and Malaysia for the Chinese New Year. Now, speaking of which, it's also promoted a lot of full rooms up in Pattaya, according to the PattayaNews.com. Pattaya hotels see high occupancy ahead of Chinese New Year, and the managing director for support division for Land House says that room reservations at Land House Hotel reached 80 to 90% ahead of the Chinese New Year, and he says it's running from 7th to the 15th. The total time for Chinese New Year seems to be able to be moved forward and back willy-nilly, but the actual Chinese New Year Day is February the 10th. He highlighted a notable rise in independent Chinese travellers, particularly in Pattaya. And the festival also attracted a diverse mix of tourists, with 40 to 50% being Thai and the remainder comprising various nationalities, including Chinese, Malaysians, Indians and Europeans. Well, just about everybody, and it looks like it's going to be a bit of a bumper Chinese New Year this year. And it's interesting to note the cost of some of these Land House hotels. Bangkok hotels ranging from 4,000 to 5,000 baht per night. Pattaya hotels ranging from 5,000 to 6,000 baht per night. I think the days of getting those sort of sub 1,000 baht a night hotels are largely over, particularly at this time of the year. You'll still find them and you'll still get a good rate in various places, but I think the days of getting something under 1,000 baht in the tourist areas of Sukhumvit, maybe around Patong or in Pattaya, they're, I think, pretty much over. Just noting the last paragraph in that story from the PattayaNews.com said Mr. Witt attributed the positive performance to the government's policy of offering free and permanent visas to Chinese nationals. Well, Chinese visitors to Thailand do, since November last year, get a visa exemption along with 63 other countries. Just China's now been added. Free and permanent visas may be free and reciprocal visas because Thai people are also offered the same situation. Now, the situation for hotels has certainly improved a lot since COVID, but there's been some interesting dynamics going on. We noted in the very early days, as the hotels were starting to open up, they simply couldn't get staff. And that's sort of lingering on. BangkokPost.com reporting labour shortage putting pressure on hotel costs. And Jesper Palmquist, a senior director from Asia Pacific at STR, said the only risk for hotels this year is cost controls based on unparalleled growth of labour costs and room rates. Room rates rose sharply over the last 12 to 18 months, enabling some Thai hotels last year to achieve room rates that were 20 to 25% higher than back in 2019, before COVID. And Mr. Palmquist says for the market, we don't see rates dropping much because as costs have gone up for hotels, the biggest cost continues to be labour costs. Now, speaking to friends in the hotel industry over the past year, they were telling me many stories about them finding a good manager or a good supervisor, and then as soon as they establish a high rate for remuneration, only a week or two later they're fishing around trying to find another 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 baht a month and then just heading off to that job instead. So there's been a lot of fishing around for a slightly higher rate, and certainly the better hotels have been battling to meet the demands of some of the best staff around. And the major factor behind this is the ongoing labour shortage in the tourism industry. Operators need to offer a high competitive salary to attract staff, while fewer people are interested in working in the industry. Certainly if you look at the top 10 things Thais want to do when they start to earn a salary, working in the tourism industry has slipped a long way down over the last decade. So finding good hotel staff is certainly going to be an increasing challenge for the hotel industry. Going on with that story from the Bangkok Post, hotels last year reported occupancy rates of only 5 percentage points below the level recorded back in 2019, and the Chinese market was sluggish. And he said if the Indian market continues to grow and the Chinese return, I think we'll start making up that occupancy gap. Well, another thing, according to the Bangkok Post anyway, that might bring the tourists back is getting rid of the alcohol ban in the afternoons. The headline, Government May Cut Alcohol Sales Ban. And the government could scrap the afternoon ban on alcohol sales to further boost its tourism policy. And the Public Health Minister Cholnan says a call by Alcoholic Beverage Business Association to get rid of the rule prohibiting the sale of alcohol between 2 and 5 p.m. What, an alcoholic business association wanting to increase the sale of alcohol? Surprise, surprise. In his capacity as chair of the panel, Dr. Cholnan says he plans to request a discussion on the Thai Alcohol Beverage Business Association. And a follow-up editorial from Bangkok Post, Scrap Booze Sale Curb. And the move comes as the government devises ever more creative ways of giving the tourism sector a shot in the arm. The regulation allows alcohol sales only during 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 12 p.m. Although they've got the bars and pubs open until 4 a.m, I'm pretty sure people can buy drinks right throughout that time. And the origin of this peculiar regulation is worth mentioning. It was part of a martial law announced by the junta government back in 1972, or over half a century ago, to deal with officials who were sneaking off to drink. This regulation was included in the Alcohol Beverage Control Act of 2008. In recent times, it was promoted among measures to reduce alcohol consumption and problems related to alcohol, such as accidents from drink driving. And those who violate the restriction can be fined 10,000 baht or jailed up to 6 months. And the rule is now perceived as unrealistic as the rate of alcohol consumption has risen and the restriction is seen as a killjoy for tourism. Remembering this is all an editorial from the Bangkok Post, an anonymous editorial at that. This time the government needs to make a sound decision, Alcohol consumption is a social issue and the country needs measures to control it. Nevertheless, this half-a-century-old restriction is not only irrelevant, it's also failed to reduce consumption and its ill effects. In fact, it may increase consumption because the measures force drinkers to stock up to avoid the no-sale restrictions in the afternoons. There's still plenty of Thais drinking. It's still the leading cause of domestic violence in Thailand, and alcoholism is a growing problem in Thailand. So banning alcohol between 2 and 5 p.m. certainly seems to have done nothing. And that editorial from bangkokpost.com. While we're on editorials on our TNT today, by the way, please subscribe to the channel. Now we go now to Khaosod English, an opinion piece. The middle path towards Thai monarchy reform is being shut down. And this has been written by journalist Prawit Rojanapruk, senior staff writer for Khaosod English, a great journalist, good guy. And he says the door to have reform of the monarchy done through the parliament was shut when the Constitutional Court ruled last Wednesday that the pledge by Move Forward Party to amend the law was unconstitutional and tantamount to an attempt to subvert the political system with the king as head of state. I'm not going to read much of this article. I'll put a link in the description if you'd like to read the whole article. But a few interesting sentences I thought I'd just mention. The court, in which many of the judges were chosen through the then junta-appointed Senate, partly stated that the dignity of the monarchy ensures the dignity of the nation, and so the law cannot be removed from the national security section as proposed by the Move Forward Party. And then just this paragraph, the ruling on January the 31st shows that Thailand is not just semi-democratic, but a controlled semi-democratic state where I think there should be rogue generals and the Constitutional Court judges interfere and suppress the mandate of the electorate whenever they see it necessary in order to preserve the status quo and suppressing political freedom despite growing calls for change, largely from the younger generation. As mentioned, a link to that full article from khaosodenglish.com, written by Prawit Rojanapruk and recommended. Moving on to a couple of stories, sad stories out of Pattaya, and this reported in the PattayaNews.com. British tourist dies after fall from Pattaya hotel. And Pattaya police are investigating the death of a 69-year-old British man who fell from a fourth-floor hotel window on Sunday morning. Preliminary investigations conducted by Pattaya police revealed no signs of foul play inside the victim's room. The exact cause of the incident remains undetermined. On the same night, this Swedish swim coach fatally falls from Pattaya hotel, and a 60-year-old Swedish swim coach tragically lost his life on Sunday morning after falling from the third floor of a hotel on Pattaya 3rd Road. He'd fallen from his room, located on the third floor, about 15 metres from the ground, and preliminary investigations revealed no signs of struggle on the victim's body. However, the cause of the incident remains undetermined. And moving to matters of the land bridge, Thai PBS World reporting foreign investors need more clarification on the land bridge project. Well, not just foreign investors, I think all of us would like to know a bit more about this land bridge project if they're going to build this swathe of infrastructure from the east to the west coast, or the other way if you like, basically cutting off the north from the south, although you'll still be able to get under it or over it at many places. I think we'd all like to know exactly how this is going to work. So Thai PBS World did an interview, and you can go to Thai PBS World and find that article and have a look at the interview if you like. But I think one thing we can glean, probably the only thing we can glean from this photo anyway, is that it's going to be made up of motorways and tunnels. And there's, well, at least a 10-kilometre chunk of tunnel there, just between Ranong and Chumpon, and some other smaller tunnels along the way. There's going to be railways, pipelines and service roads, including, well, a full highway. So it's not a small piece of infrastructure. And I think we'd all like to know a little bit more about exactly how it's going to work, the sort of commitment they're getting from shipping lines that they'd be inclined to use it. The investors, I'd be very interested to see what the Thai government's showing them in the way of a PowerPoint presentation to try and convince them. And what are the numbers like? What are they showing them to convince them to throw some money at this, well, fairly significant project? The government claims an advantageous outcome of job creation and economic growth for the 1 trillion baht land bridge project, which connects the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea, but foreign investors are concerned over the pragmatic plans for investment and profitability. At the end of the day, they just want to see the bottom line. I mean, Thailand doesn't want to be caught in a situation like Malaysia with that 1 MDB investment project with some $6 billion ripped off and ending up in very few pockets, not the Malaysian people. So, yeah, let's find out more about what's happening with this land bridge proposal, because at the moment, we know, sweet FA. And with that, that's all we've got for a roundup of news coming out of Thailand today. Thank you for dropping in. Please subscribe to the channel. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.